So, you're here because of that dreaded check engine light, right? And your scanner spit out the code P0446. I know, it's super frustrating, but don't you worry. In this explainer, we are going to crack this code together. We'll figure out exactly what your car is trying to tell you and get you back on the road.
All right, let's get right into it. The code is P0446. Now, that might sound like a bunch of random letters and numbers, but it's actually pointing to a very specific system in your car. And honestly, it's not something you want to ignore, especially since it can cause you to fail an emissions test. So let's break down what it means, why it's happening, and most importantly, what you can do about it.
Okay, let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar? You pull up to the gas station, you stick the nozzle in, and it just clicks off, over and over again. It is one of the most annoying things, right? Well, that is a classic textbook symptom that goes hand in hand with this exact code, and we're about to find out why. And here it is, in all its technical glory. Evaporative Emission Control System Vent Control Circuit Malfunction. Wow, what a mouthful. But listen, don't let that intimidate you. The only words you really need to focus on are right here, vent control circuit. That's the clue. That's the car's computer telling us exactly where it thinks the problem is.
Now, to really get what this code means, you gotta understand the system it's talking about. The easiest way to think about it is that your car has its own built-in fume catcher. It's called the EVAP system. So, at its heart, this is all about emissions. The EVAP system's entire job is to capture all those gasoline vapors from your fuel tank before they can just float off into the air and cause pollution. It's actually a really smart system when you think about it.
And it's surprisingly simple how it works. First, as vapors build up in your gas tank, the system collects them. Then, instead of just venting them out, it sends them over to this thing called a charcoal canister, which is kind of like a sponge for gas fumes. And then later, when your engine is running, it pulls those stored vapors out and feeds them right into the engine to get burned up with the fuel. Pretty slick, right? Nothing goes to waste.
Okay, so these are the main characters in our little drama. You've got the gas tank, of course, the charcoal canister we just talked about. There's a purge valve, a pressure sensor, and then there's our main person of interest, the star of today's show, the vent valve.
All right, time to put on our detective hats. Because while there are a few moving parts here, when you see a P0446 code, there is one component that is, by far, the prime suspect.
And look, you don't have to just take my word for it. Pretty much every mechanic will tell you the same thing. The overwhelming odds are that something's up with that vent valve or the wiring that controls it. Seriously, like 9 times out of 10. So that's where we're going to focus our investigation. So this little valve has 2 very important jobs. Most of the time, its default state is normally open. This lets air flow in and out, which is absolutely crucial when you're filling up your tank. But then, when your car's computer wants to check for leaks, it sends a signal that commands the valve to slam shut, completely sealing off the whole system. And this is where things go wrong. If that valve gets stuck in the closed position, air can't get out when you're refueling, which is why the gas pump keeps clicking off. And if it gets stuck open, well, the system can't seal itself to run that leak test. Either way, the computer sees a problem, throws up that P0446 code, and bam, check engine light comes on. So how do we prove it? How do we catch our suspect red-handed? Well, let's go through the diagnostic checklist. This is how you can actually test the component and know for sure if it's the bad guy. Okay, let's walk through this. First, just use your eyes. These valves are usually located near the gas tank, and they can get totally gunked up with mud or dirt. Next, if you have a decent scan tool, you can actually tell the valve to open and close. You should hear a nice, solid click when you do. Third, a super simple airflow test. Since it's normally open, just pull the hoses off and try to blow through it. If you can't, it's stuck shut. And finally, if all that seems okay, you'll want to check the wiring with a multimeter to make sure it's getting power and has a good ground. All right, once you've done your detective work and you've confirmed your suspicion, you're ready for the best part, actually fixing the thing. And let's just hammer this point home one more time, because it's that important. In the vast majority of cases, we're talking a whopping 9 out of 10 times, the solution is simply replacing that faulty EVAP vent valve solenoid. It is by far the most likely fix for a P0446 code. Now, you might be thinking, well, could it be something else? And yeah, it could be, but it's not very likely. A really clogged up charcoal canister can sometimes cause this code. But notice how other common EVAP problems, like a loose gas cap or a bad purge valve, will usually throw a completely different code. So that actually helps us narrow it down and stay focused on that vent valve circuit.
Okay, this last part is absolutely mission critical. You cannot skip this. After you replace the part, you have to use a scan tool to clear the code from the car's computer. Then you just need to drive the car for a few days. The car will automatically run its own tests in the background, and if you fixed it right, that pesky check engine light will stay off for good.
And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Going from a confusing code and an annoying problem to a real confident fix. By understanding the system, zeroing in on the suspect, and confirming the repair, you've cracked the code. Your car can finally pass its own test, and you can get back to just enjoying the drive.